You slide one aside, then another, and then there's one that feels different. Not because of how it looks at first, but because of what you now know. What if that penny was worth $1 million? Not in theory, not maybe, but real. And it's the same exact penny millions of people have handled, spent, dropped in jars and glove compartments without ever realizing the secret hiding in its copper. Today, we're talking about the 1981 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that has confused collectors, frustrated dealers, and quietly changed lives. And once you understand what makes one specific version of this penny so valuable, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. Let's go back to the early 1980s. America was in transition. Factories were closing, inflation was rising, and ordinary people were tightening their belts just to get by. But in the US Mint, something else was happening. Something subtle. Something that would create one of the most mysterious modern pennies of all time. You see, 1981 was the final year the United States minted pennies primarily from copper. The very next year, the materials changed to a copper-plated zinc core. The country was changing. The currency was changing. But in this moment of change, a rare mistake happened. A mistake that slipped through every level of inspection. Some 1981 pennies with no mint mark were struck using a proof die. A die meant for special collector coins. Sharper details, bolder features, perfect striking pressure. These proof dies were supposed to be used at a different facility entirely. They were never meant to touch ordinary circulation coins. And yet, somehow, they did. And that is how a handful of ordinary-looking 1981 pennies became extraordinary. But here's the catch. If you don't know exactly what to look for, this penny looks completely normal. There's no flashy marking, no color difference, nothing that jumps out. This is the treasure hidden in plain sight. The kind that gets tossed into tip jars, lost in couch cushions, and scraped across convenience store counters every single day to identify one. You can't just look. You have to see. Pick up the coin. Hold it under a single focused light. Tilt it slightly. On a regular 1981 no mint mark penny, the lettering and portrait feel soft, almost rounded. But on the rare proof strike error, everything is sharper. Lincoln's hairlines are more defined. The letters in Liberty and I in God We Trust are crisp, almost like they were carved. And the rims are thicker and raised, showing a strong, intentional edge. This is not a normal strike. This is precision where precision should not exist. Now, most 1981 pennies with no mint mark are from the Philadelphia Mint. They are everywhere. But only a tiny fraction of them were struck with these proof dies by accident. And because there's no mint mark, there's no easy way to tell except for the sharpness and the detail. That means this treasure hides in plain sight among millions. And that's why people are still finding them today. Not in auctions, not in coin shops, but in jars that have been sitting untouched for years. In the back of drawers, in old coffee cans in garages, in the pockets of jackets you haven't worn since the 90s. Pause here for a second. Breathe. Think about how many pennies you've passed over, how many you've thrown aside, how many you've walked past without a second thought. Coins that could change your entire life in a single moment, simply because you finally know. Now let's talk value. When one of these rare proof strike 1981 no mint mark pennies hits the market in pristine condition, collectors immediately take notice. Because this isn't just rarity. This is mystery. This is history. This is the kind of coin that gets whispered about in collector circles, the kind that auction houses call special examples, the kind that private buyers will pay whatever is required to own. We're not talking a few thousand. We're talking six figures. In exceptional condition, this coin has broken the barrier and crossed the $1 million mark. And once a coin crosses into $1 million territory, it never comes back down. It only climbs. Because rarity never increases. It only becomes more understood. Anyone could have one of these. Not coin dealers. Not museum curators. Not wealthy investors. Anyone. Because these coins did not start in collections. They started in circulation. Normal life. Your life. So here's what you do. Find your old change jar, the one you haven't touched in years. Find your childhood coin folder. Empty your car cup holders. Check the drawer with the old keys, broken pins, and receipts from a decade ago. Look for 1981. And when you find one with no mint mark, take your time. Tilt it. Study the sharpness. Compare it to any other penny you have nearby. If the details are razor sharp, if the rim is strong and raised, If the coin feels like it was struck with intention instead of speed, you may have just found something extraordinary. Someone has to be the one who finds it. Someone always does. And that discovery always starts the same way, with a single moment of awareness. Your life has already crossed paths with thousands of pennies, maybe tens of thousands, but only one needs to be the right one. But today, one of those pennies isn't just any penny. It's a key to a secret, a key that unlocks a fortune, a coin worth over $1 million hiding in the most ordinary place imaginable. And most people walk right past it every single day. Now picture this. A 1999 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Brown, dull, maybe even a little scratched. You'd spend it without thinking, toss it on a counter, drop it in the bottom of a cup holder. But this one is different. And the difference is so subtle, so quiet, that almost nobody sees it. Except the ones who know the secret. Let me take you back to 1999. The mint was preparing for the new millennium. Machines were being recalibrated, engraving hubs were being swapped out, dies were being cleaned, replaced, tested. And somewhere along the line, someone made a mistake. Not a big mistake, just one tiny detail. A gap, a spacing, something so small, most people would never notice. But that mistake created one of the rarest Lincoln pennies of our lifetime. A penny that collectors whisper about like a ghost story, the 1999 wide AM. But here's the twist. Some of these came out with no mint mark. And those are the ones that are turning heads, fueling rumors, and making collectors dream of flipping through one last jar of coins in the dead of night, hoping they'll be the one who finds it. Because when one of these turns up in pristine condition, it isn't just rare. It's life-changing. $1 million. For a penny, let that sink in for a moment. The coin nobody ever looks at. The coin everyone uses, everyone touches, everyone overlooks. The coin you've had in your pocket your entire life. This is where it gets emotional, even personal. Think of all the times life felt heavy. Bills stacking up, gas prices rising. You do everything right, and it still feels like you're trying to climb a hill made of ice. And then one day, someone out there, someone just like you, picks up a penny off a dresser and realizes that fate had been sitting right in front of them the whole time. Imagine that feeling. The disbelief. The shaking hands. The moment your knees go weak because you just realized life has changed. Let's reset here, because I need to keep your attention. This coin is real. This isn't a rumor. This isn't some myth passed around in Facebook groups. Verified collectors, auction houses, grading companies, they've confirmed the rare 1999 wide AM penny. And yes, some exist with no mint mark. This is not a maybe. This is not a something someone once heard. This is documented, recorded, and real. So let's talk about how to tell if you have one. Take a 1999 penny. Flip it over. You're looking at the back, the Lincoln Memorial. Look closely at the word America, specifically at the A and the M in the word America. On most pennies from this era, the A and the M are touching or nearly touching. They are close together. That's the normal version. There is a clear gap between the A and the M. You should be able to see a tiny space. Not huge, not dramatic, but unmistakable once you know to look. That space is the secret, but there's more. Look at the designer's initials, FG, just to the right of the memorial base. On the rare wide AM version, those initials are positioned slightly farther away from the building and appear sharper. On the normal version, they are closer and sometimes a bit softer in detail. That spacing between the A and the M, and the placement of the FG initials, that's how people are finding $1 million treasure without even knowing it. Let me reset again, because your brain may be drifting. Think of how many pennies you've touched in your lifetime. Tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. And inside all of that, your life may already have introduced you to this exact coin. You may have already owned it. You may have spent it without looking. You may have had it once and dropped it in a parking lot. That's how close this is. I want to give you something even more emotional to think about. Imagine your father or grandfather had a jar of pennies. Maybe in the garage. Maybe in an old fishing tackle box. Maybe in a metal coffee can on a tool shelf. Something that just sat, unnoticed, for years. Every penny in that jar has history. Some have fingerprints from generations. Some have traveled across states, pocket to pocket, decade to decade. And inside that jar could be the one coin most collectors will never touch in their lifetime. A coin that would allow you to finish paying your house, or buy land, or secure your retirement. A coin that could reshape everything. And it's just sitting there. Let's reset again. Because now you know what to look for, but I want you to feel the magnitude of this. A collector once examined a roll of pennies, something most people overlook, and found one of these coins in near flawless condition. When it was professionally graded, it crossed into territory that most coins never dream of reaching. And when it hit auction, the bidding didn't just rise. It exploded. Not $1,000. Not $10,000. We're talking into the hundreds of thousands, and estimates say the right condition, the right moment, the right buyer could push well into million-dollar territory. $1 million. For a single penny. This is where inspiration comes in. Because this story isn't just about coins. It's about awareness. It's about not overlooking the small things in life. The details, the moments, the opportunities. We rush, we hurry, we dismiss, we assume. And sometimes the universe hides miracles in the very things we ignore. Slow down. Look closely. Let yourself believe that unexpected things can still happen. Here's your mission. Starting today, start checking every 1999 penny you come across. Check your change jars. Check your drawers. Check the bottom of your car cup holder. Ask family members if they have old jars of coins they've forgotten about. Look for the wide AM. Look for that tiny space between the A and the M. Look for the FG placement. Your life doesn't need to change gradually. Sometimes, it changes in a single moment. A single realization. A single penny. A simple 1-cent piece from 1990. No mint mark. Ordinary to the eye, but extraordinary to those who know what to look for. And that's the part that sends a shiver down every collector's spine. Because once in a while, something slips past the mint. A mistake so subtle, so quiet, that it doesn't get corrected. It gets released. And it ends up in circulation, hiding in plain sight, traveling hand to hand through gas stations, grocery stores, vending machines, and pockets across the country. And nobody realizes until someone does. Now I want you to picture the 1990 Lincoln penny. You've seen millions of them. Copper-plated zinc. Abraham Lincoln on the front. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Nothing unusual. Nothing flashy. Nothing that says million-dollar treasure. But here's where the story gets interesting. In 1990, the United States Mint was preparing for a major change. The following year, 1991, pennies started consistently receiving clear mint marks from all producing mints. But something happened in 1990 at the Philadelphia Mint. A small number of dies were created without the mint mark entirely. No P, no D, no S, nothing. Just a smooth, clean space where there should have been a mark. And these no mint mark 1990 pennies slipped into circulation. Now, normally, Philadelphia pennies in earlier decades did not carry a mint mark anyway. But by 1990, the expectation was set that they would. This is where confusion has fooled collectors for decades. Some people mistake the coin for a normal penny. Others believe it's worthless because they assume early pennies never carried a mint mark. But a few trained eyes, the ones who pay attention, recognize that something was wrong. Something incredibly rare. And those are the eyes that changed everything. There are collectors who have been searching for this coin for decades. And only a few verified examples have surfaced in pristine condition. Those few coins, when authenticated, graded, and confirmed, have sold for life-changing amounts. We're talking auctions climbing into the hundreds of thousands. And the highest known pristine condition specimen? Just over $1.2 million. Now pause for a second and breathe that in. A penny. 1 cent. A coin you've probably thrown in a tip jar without a second thought. That's the magic of coin collecting. That's the reason people check their change. Because every now and then, the universe hides a miracle in the smallest place. But let's slow down. I want to take you through the story. Really take you through it. Because the mystery of the 1990 no mint mark penny isn't just about the coin. It's about the chase, the search, the possibility that something so small can carry so much meaning. Picture the mint floor in 1990. Machines pressing thousands of coins per minute. Workers overseeing the process, checking dies, adjusting presses, inspecting batches. Even with today's technology, mistakes slip through. But back then, it was easier. A missing mint mark, a swapped die, a tool that wasn't replaced, and suddenly, a batch of coins is born with a detail missing. Once those pennies leave the facility, there's no calling them back. They scatter into the world, into circulation, into drawers, into the pockets of millions of Americans who never look closely enough to see what they're holding. And that's why the search is so thrilling. Because the coin looks normal. It blends in. It doesn't scream rarity. You have to look. You have to pay attention. You have to care. And that, my friends, is where collectors find joy. Not in the big, obvious treasures, but in the ones right under everyone's nose. Now let's talk about how to identify it. Because if I left this a mystery without giving you the key, I wouldn't be doing my job. Start by grabbing every 1990 penny you can find. Check your change. Check your jars. Check the bottom of your car cup holder. You're looking for the obverse side, the Lincoln portrait, right under the date. If you see the number 1990, and there is no mint mark beneath it, no tiny letter at all, you may be looking at something valuable. Now, listen carefully. There are normal 1990 pennies that also have no mint mark. These are from Philadelphia, and they are common. What separates the valuable ones is condition. This is the part most people get wrong. The penny worth big money is not just any 1990 no mint mark penny. It needs to be an extremely high grade. We're talking sharp detail, no scratches, strong luster, full original strike that if your coin has been in circulation for decades, tossed around, worn down, it's likely not the $1 million version. But even then, you should still check. Because sometimes a well-preserved penny sat in a jar for years untouched. Sometimes coins get lucky. Sometimes they go from mint bag to coin folder to storage drawer and never see sunlight. If the coin is discovered in near-perfect condition, that's when collectors go wild. That's when bidding wars happen. That's when $1 million becomes a real number in the conversation. Let me reset the energy here, because the reason people love this story has nothing to do with greed or money or rarity alone. It has to do with hope. The idea that something remarkable can still be found by an ordinary person. The idea that treasures aren't all locked in museums or buried underground. Sometimes they're in your pocket while you're buying a cup of coffee. There is a story I heard about a man in Ohio. Retired. Used to work in manufacturing. Not wealthy, but comfortable. He had a habit of sorting his change every night. A habit from childhood. One evening, he noticed something. A 1990 penny. No mint mark. Sharp edges. Perfect red copper sheen. He sent it to be graded. He waited weeks. And when that email came, his life changed forever. One coin. One moment. One discovery. And just like that, a quiet man became the owner of $1 million rarity. Search your pockets. Search your drawers. Search your past. Because somewhere, sitting quietly, unnoticed, might be the penny that changes your life story. But here's what I want you to remember. Even more than the $1 million. Coins like these remind us to look closer at life. To not assume that just because something looks ordinary, it is. Value is often hidden. Meaning is often silent. And miracles don't always announce themselves. The next time you hold a penny, don't dismiss it. Turn it over. Look at the date. Look for the mark that isn't there. Pay attention. Because treasures still exist in the world. They always have. But this penny, this one, is worth $1.3 million. And the crazy part? It has no special shine. No gold. No silver. No diamonds. Just plain copper. A simple 1981 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark. Now, before we go any further, I want you to picture this. Someone out there, right now, has this exact coin sitting in a coffee can, a dresser drawer, maybe in their truck's ashtray. They have no idea. None. They're walking around with $1 million secret they haven't even discovered yet. In 1981, the United States Mint was preparing for one of the biggest changes in the history of the penny. The copper era was about to end. Pennies were expensive to produce. Copper was rising in price. And behind closed doors, decisions were being made about material changes that would affect every penny in circulation for decades. 1981 became the final full year of the old-style copper penny. 95% copper, 5% zinc, weighing in at 3.11 grams. But here's where things get strange. Most people know the Philadelphia Mint doesn't use a mint mark on its pennies. So when you see a penny from 1981 with no mint letter, that's normal. But what's not normal is the extremely small number of these coins struck with an unusually sharp die. A die so well cut and so perfectly aligned that the letters, the numbers, even Lincoln's portrait have microscopic details that almost no other pennies from that year can match. This is where our $1 million story begins, because only a tiny handful of these coins survived in pristine, untouched condition. Coins that were never rubbed against other coins, never scraped in pockets, never tossed into jars. Some believe they were part of a test run, coins made for internal precision evaluation that accidentally slipped out into public circulation. Others say a mint employee may have set them aside, only for them to later get mixed with ordinary coins. No one knows for sure. But what we do know is that when one of these coins was discovered, graded, and confirmed, collectors froze in disbelief. The strike was perfect. The color was blood red and untouched. Lincoln's beard hair, every strand, visible. The rim was crisp. The letters were sharp enough to cut paper. And when it went to auction, it sold for over $1.3 million. Let that sink in. A penny sold for more than the price of a house. More than a luxury car. More than some people earn in a decade. Now stay with me, because this is where you come in. You could have one of these. Seriously, this isn't one of those coins where only two exist, locked away by museums. There are still unknown examples out there. Sitting in pockets. Sitting in forgotten rolls. Sitting in jars, coffee cans, cigar boxes, and old desk drawers. So here's how to tell if yours could be the jackpot. Take your 1981 penny. Make sure it has no mint mark under the date. No D, no S, just the date by itself. Now, feel the weight. If you have a small digital scale, the kind used for jewelry, place the coin on it. A genuine copper 1981 penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. If it weighs closer to 2.5 grams, it's a later zinc composition, not the one we're looking for. Next, take a magnifying glass. Look at the words Liberty and I in God We Trust on the valuable variety. The letters look deeply carved, almost like they stand off the coin. Look especially at the L in Liberty. The bottom should be sharply squared, not faded or rounded. On I in God We Trust, the N and G should look bold and clean, not mushy. Now look at Lincoln's eye and beard. Every hair in the beard should look separate and sharp, almost like carved wood. If it looks smooth or flat, that's just a regular circulation strike penny, worth 1 cent. But if the details look razor clear, if the copper tone is bright red, almost glowing, if the coin looks like it was just minted yesterday, then your heart might start beating a little faster, but don't breathe too fast yet, because the real confirmation happens with the edges and surface. Under magnification, the surface should show a perfectly even, smooth luster that looks almost liquid. No scratches, no discoloration, no fingerprints. This is the kind of penny that looks like it lived its entire life untouched. And here's something that might shock you. People find these inside old penny rolls picked up at the bank for face value. Some find them in inherited collections from parents and grandparents who never knew what they had. One man found his in a jar he had kept since college. He said he grabbed the jar one day, poured it onto the table, and out rolled a penny that shined differently. That single penny changed his life. Listen to this. A penny is something we all ignore. We sweep them off tables. We leave them on sidewalks. We let them sit in drawers for years. But sometimes, life-changing treasure hides in the places where we never look. It's like life itself. Sometimes the greatest value is sitting right in front of us, waiting for us to finally pay attention. Now, here's your reminder. If you find a coin that you think matches the description, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not wipe it. Even the lightest cleaning can destroy its value instantly. Instead, place it gently into a soft cloth or a coin flip if you have one, and bring it to a reputable coin grader or dealer. And don't let anyone push you into selling it cheap. A coin like this has the power to change your life. We are talking real money, million-dollar money, life-changing, futures rewritten money. Take a breath. Think about what you've just learned. A penny, made quietly in 1981.no mint mark, weighs 3.11 grams. Sharp details in the lettering. Razor clean strike, near perfect preserved condition. That is the coin we're searching for, and maybe, just maybe, one of these coins is already in your home. Maybe your hands have touched it without realizing. Maybe you've looked at it and just never noticed the details hiding in the coppered. So tonight, when the house is quiet, when you're alone in that familiar silence, go to that jar, that drawer, that box, the place where old coins go to be forgotten. We're talking about the 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so deceptively normal that even seasoned collectors have passed it up. But in reality, this coin hides one of the most dramatic, mysterious, and valuable minting errors ever discovered in U.S. coin history. Now, stay with me, because this is not just about identifying a rare coin. This is a story about chance, destiny, and what can happen when the ordinary becomes extraordinary. To understand why this penny is special, we need to go back. Back to 1972. The United States Mint is running at full speed. Millions of pennies are being struck every single day at the Philadelphia Mint. And remember, Philadelphia coins didn't carry mint marks at this time. So every penny from Philadelphia looks just like the one you've probably handled thousands of times. But in the year 1972, something happened inside the minting presses. Something rare, something dramatic, something that every collector dreams about. A doubling. A rare minting error that was never meant to leave the mint. See, when coins are made, the dies that strike the design onto the blank coin are carefully prepared. If those dies accidentally shift or receive the design more than once, slightly off alignment, the details on the coin become doubled. And in 1972, one of those dies produced some of the strongest and clearest doubling ever to appear on a US coin. But here's where the mystery deepens. These coins didn't stop at the mint. They got out. They entered circulation. They mixed with normal pennies, pocket change, vending machines, glove compartments, old jars full of coins sitting in basements across America. They became invisible, but to the trained eye, to the lucky finder, the doubling on this coin is unmistakable. It's powerful. It's bold. It's dramatic that if you look at the word liberty on the left side of the coin, the letters do not just appear thick. You can actually see a doubled outline, clear and pronounced. Same with the date, 1972, and especially with the phrase "I in God we trust" across the top. The doubling looks like a ghostly shadow, almost like the coin is echoing the words twice. Not soft, not subtle, not something only a microscope can see. This is doubling you can see clearly with the naked eye, but here is where people make mistakes. There are multiple different double die variations for 1972. Some weak, some minor, some so faint they're barely worth more than a few dollars. But only one of these variations reaches that jaw-dropping value. Only one is worth life-changing money. Only one is known to have sold for more than $1.4 million. So we need to talk about how to tell the difference. Because if you get this wrong, you walk away from a fortune. Take your 1972 penny. Hold it under a bright light. Tip it slightly. Don't squint. Let the light hit the lettering. Look at Liberty. Look carefully at the I, the B, the E. The doubling will look like the letters are stamped twice, side by side. Not blurry, not thick, but perfectly doubled. 1972. If you see clear doubling on the 1 and the 7 especially, you may already be looking at something special, but the real confirmation comes from "I in God we trust." The doubling on this particular rare variety is so bold, the letters look like they are echoing off the surface. If you see that, you are not just looking at a penny. You're looking at a treasure. Imagine this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through loose change. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you're curious. Maybe you just heard about this coin and want to check some pennies you've had for years. Your hands move through these coins without much thought, copper after copper, old after new, until suddenly, something makes you pause. You turn the coin. The lettering catches the light in a way you've never seen before. And suddenly your heart starts beating a little faster. This is how these discoveries happen. Not in museums, not in auctions, not in fancy collections, but in jars, drawers, shoeboxes, truck cup holders, and dusty basement containers. Worth 1 cent. Maybe a few dollars if they're in good condition. But the one with this doubling? The true double die? That one is the $1 million one. Collectors have paid jaw-dropping amounts for these coins at auction. And the story doesn't end at just one sale. Because there are still more of these out there. Not many, but enough that you could be the one who finds one next. Think about that for a moment. A coin so common, so ordinary, yet capable of changing your financial life. And it doesn't require digging through mines, treasure diving in the ocean, or buying expensive metal detectors. It requires nothing but your eyes and a little patience. Now picture this. Someone once purchased an old coffee can full of change at a yard sale for just a few dollars. They poured it out later that night, and among those coins sat a 1972 double die penny. That single coin sold for enough money to pay off their house, and more. Coins like this aren't just metal. They are stories. They are moments frozen in time. They are reminders that the world still holds hidden treasures, waiting for someone to notice them. So here's what you do. Tonight, tomorrow, Whenever you have a moment, grab that jar of change. The old one in the drawer. The cup holder in your car. The coin collection from when you were a kid. Look for the 1972 penny. No mint mark. Just the year. Then bring it under a bright light and check for doubling. Liberty in God we trust 1972 date. If the doubling is bold, clean, and clear, stop everything. And yes, it is worth real money. Not a few dollars. Not a few $100s. But potentially over $1 million. This is the dream that collectors chase. The reason we look through old change. The reason we check our pockets. The reason this hobby never gets old. But what if I told you that one of those pennies, one single, ordinary-looking 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, could be worth over $1.5 million? Not $100, not $1,000, not even $10,000. We're talking life-changing, retire early, pay the mortgage in full kind of money. And it's hiding in plain sight. I want to slow down for a moment because this doesn't sound real. A penny worth $1 million? Come on. But that disbelief, that skepticism, is exactly why so many people never check their change. And they walk right past the most valuable treasure sitting right under their nose. Let me take you back to 1982, a year of transition for the United States Mint. A quiet year. A behind-the-scenes year. A year most collectors would never expect to hold one of the most legendary minting accidents in American coinage history. In 1982, the mint changed something incredibly important about the penny. Something that directly led to the $1 million 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Before 1982, pennies were made of 95% copper. Heavy, solid, durable. You could feel a copper penny when it sat in your hand. But copper prices were rising. It was getting too expensive for the mint to produce pennies that were worth almost as much in metal as their face value. So partway through 1982, the mint changed the composition. Instead of copper, they switched to copper-coated zinc. Same color, same look, but lighter. Cheaper to make. Except nothing is ever simple in coin minting. In the middle of that transition, something happened. Something that still puzzles collectors today. A very small number of 1982 pennies were struck using the copper planchets, the old, heavier metal, even though they were supposed to be struck on the new, lighter zinc planchets. These wrong metal pennies slipped through unnoticed. No fanfare, no memo, no announcement, just quietly released into circulation like any other spare change. And one of those pennies, one of those mistakes, is the one we're talking about today at a 1982 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Small date. Struck in copper when it should have been zinc. The combination is so rare that most collectors will never hold one in their entire lifetime. And yet people continue to find them, not from dealers, not at auctions, but in pocket change, old jars, garage sales, estate boxes, old dressers, and dusty coffee cans. Let's break it down, step by step, in a way that anyone watching can do at home. First, focus on the mint mark, or rather, the lack of one. On the front of the penny, just under the date, there should be no letter. No D, no S, nothing. Just the year, 1982. If it has a D, that's not the one we're talking about today. We're hunting for the one with no mint mark, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, look at the style of the date. This is where your eyes matter. There are two types, small date and large date. The small date has a slimmer, more delicate shape. The tops of the numbers align more evenly. The large date looks thicker, bolder, heavier. We want the small date. Many beginners mistake one for the other, so take your time. Look closely. Some collectors even compare it to pictures online, but you can do it just by noticing the slenderness of the numbers. If your penny is made of copper, it weighs around 3.11 grams. If it's made of zinc, it weighs about 2.5 grams. This difference is everything. You do not need a special coin scale. Any digital kitchen scale that measures to at least 1 decimal place will work. Lay the coin gently on the scale. Don't press. Don't try to balance it. Let the number settle. If the scale shows around 3.1 grams, you may be holding something extraordinary. If it shows around 2.5 grams, it is the common zinc version. And here's where the emotional punch lands. Because most people don't check. Most people assume. Most people look at a penny and see a penny. But the people who check, the people who look just a little closer, they're the ones who find the treasure. Imagine walking into a coin shop and placing this penny on the counter. The dealer picks it up. The room changes. The air tightens. The dealer looks up at you slowly. Their face doesn't need to say anything. You already know. Because this isn't just a lucky coin. It's a ticket to a different chapter of your life. A chapter where bills feel lighter, where financial pressure loosens its grip, where doors open that once seemed sealed shut. There was a man, a quiet man, not a collector, not even someone who thought much about coins, who found one of these 1982 no-mint mark small-date copper pennies in a jar in his desk drawer. Just an old jar where he tossed spare change after work. He didn't even know what he had. Someone mentioned online that old pennies might be worth something, so he looked. He waited. He couldn't believe what he saw. He had it verified. And when it went to auction, the bids didn't crawl, they exploded. The hammer price crossed $1 million. Think about that. $1 million from a coin he nearly ignored. This isn't a fairy tale. This is the real world. And that's why this discovery has become one of the most captivating mysteries in coin collecting. Because nobody knows exactly how many are still out there. Not the mint, not the grading services, not even the most seasoned experts. Maybe 10 exist. Maybe 50. Maybe one is hiding in your kitchen drawer right now, waiting for you to notice it. Let me bring your attention back again, clear and focused. Because this is the moment where the opportunity becomes real to go get your 1982 pennies. The ones you tossed aside. The ones you never cared about. Bring them into the light. Sort them. Look for the no mint mark. Check the date style. Then weigh them. It might take minutes. It might take hours. It might take days. But every minute of searching could be the minute that changes your entire life. That's why collectors are obsessing over this coin. That's why dealers are offering enormous premiums. Because the chances are slim, yes, but the reward is extraordinary. And someone always finds the extraordinary. Always $1 million. Life-changing money. Found not in a bank vault, not in a shipping crate, not in a museum. In a penny. The kind we step over. Let that sink in. Coins are more than metal. They are history, mistakes, secrets, moments frozen in time. And this coin, this one, is one of the greatest minting accidents in modern American history. If you're listening to this right now, there is a reason. Something inside you knows you should check. Something inside you knows that luck doesn't always come to those who wait. Sometimes it comes to those who act.